Brian Ritsuno here. Today I wanted to share with you the importance of this idea that we have a limitation in our lives. But it is true that we are living in a like genetic constraint or environmental constraints or where you're born really matters, or what kind of family you're born really matters. And these factors are true. It's just the cards that you've been dealt when you're born, how you look and or whatever. But then a lot of things are we in our life we can actually uh, make out of it with our own will. So in this context, the limitation is really within us. In more accurately, when we limitation to fulfill our potential is only within us. And when I'm thinking about it, this is a very challenging idea, just because what if you get accident or some sort of a illness? Is that can you still fulfill your potential? I I would put more caveat here, is more like towards anything that what you can do given the circumstances. It is in your limitation. Limitation is only within. So given all this, but then I think the idea of this, you can actually push your boundaries how much you can by your own courage on there is so important, just because we can get ourselves into this comfort zone. Oh yeah, this is good enough. Oh, this is yeah, this is the safe path, and this is how the life should go. Yada yada. And then you'll find a similar type of people, and it feels like, okay, I think I'm doing all right. But then this all you can do, really? Um, there is a constraint. There is always a handicap for everybody, and these kind of like a force are the everywhere. Even without you asking for it, it just comes. So the mindset of being able to break it by itself is so important. For my case, it's just uh, I slacked. I think I slacked off, or maybe I should have pushed more uh, in a certain places. I could have. Um, and what would what makes such a difference if I did? When I feared something, had I pushed a little more, what would be the more difference? I'm not talking about the recklessness, right? Recklessness means it's like you're not preparing or you're not thinking about the consequence, but then you know the consequence, but the probability wise, the benefit wise, taking the risk makes sense. Then, but then still, your fear, and there was not much of physical the danger, but then you but then you couldn't. I couldn't do it. That was probably the issue. I'm getting kind of abstract, but uh, uh, yeah. So how about like having this type of like you don't want to go too far, right? If you go too far, then you're like, okay, I can do whatever, and you might be very delusional. And then you start cutting corners because like you just want to get there. But that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is like authentically, you push your boundary daily. You challenge yourself. You know you can do better. Think long term, and just go for just act on it. Just go for it. Go for it. The challenge, really, I already just talked briefly, but that uh, as I said, the limitation exists, like all the time, like externally, right? Upbringing and so forth. But the important question we have to really ask to succeed is that what can we achieve given that resources or cards that we dealt as much or as far as possible. That's the key questions that we really have to answer. And you will really not know how resilient you are until you pass that fear. This is, I think, that what I didn't quite understand here is was I can just kind of like guess how much I can go. So it's almost like in my brain kind of I simulate it and I say you know what, that's too much, and then I just didn't do it. But you never really know until you actually do it. So fear and pain or risk or something like that, it's very, as a human, it's innately very challenging to confront. But we really have to, after we did all the homeworks and preparation, we have to dare. Um, Otherwise, we would never know. We're always, even if you prepare, even if you cross some line that it becomes quite dangerous, a little bit dangerous. But you don't go that far because you prepared, okay. But then you have to cross that line a little bit. Um, Otherwise, it's always like you're doing the 90%, 80% of whatever you could do. And if you multiply that, 10 times, like, if you do the math, like, or figure the math, like, but they go close to the zeros. You have to really hit above 100, always at 100 or 101, 102. And if you get screwed up, just bring it back a couple points notch down to 99% or not. But then that after the fear or scare, that's where the real treasure resides. And people say, hey, like the limit is great, but I don't know what I can do to actually push the limit. A lot of times, actually, you already know. It's just that you don't want to think about it, or you've been beaten up by discouragement that you just don't want to do it. Like, it's too hard. But that's the thing. Like when you know something's good, but then it's a fear or pain or whatever is stopping. That's the thing that we really have to push ourselves to overcome. So, I mean, the opposite of fear, like this, very difficult to overcome. But what is the essence? It's courage and boldness, right? Like, these things, and it have to be backed up by preparation, rationality, or intelligence, or spirituality, whatever they are. Otherwise, it's as I said, it becomes reckless, and then if you fail too much and too in a sense stupidly, they of course you're not gonna do you're not gonna do it again. For instance, just for like a workout, if you're reckless and if you just do too much with and then break your um, tore your muscle or like break your shoulder or whatever, then and then you can do it for work out for like a couple months, that right. That would be an issue if you keep doing that kind of behavior. But then if you're doing it gradually, but the pushing yourself, you know generally the progress would be far better, and that's how you actually push the limit. So what is like when you do this, like not to get too far, like to be a catastrophic uh, consequence when just because you dare yourself, you don't want to be there. So what do you need to be careful? The most dangerous thing is a hubris. Um, a little bit of arrogance is probably important for the self confidence. However, if you get to the level of hubris, means it's like you're better than somebody. Um, you're the smartest. You know that all. Um, you know, that's the time you really have to check yourself in a sense. Like you got to look around and say, make sure that everything is in a sense tight. Okay, like if you notice that mental status you're in, that's the time you kind of push it back and say, okay, let me just double check. It means it's like bring the opposite opinions of whatever you think is great, and then make sure that this whatever is covered. Generally speaking, when you're in a hubris state, you haven't actually thought through, and then you're probably trying to do something that almost stupid, and then you know. But then once you kind of figure out, be confidently, be bold, bet big, right? But then do some experiment first, like small ones. Yeah, like practice is important, really. And what if like you fail despite you've done all you could? I mean, it happens. Okay, a lot of times like the um, before you became really big, the failure might be actually really really difficult. I think it's just the human mentality. You don't have to go through this as long as you understand this mentality. Is this a lot of times until we went through really really uh, terrible mistakes to ourselves. Generally speaking, it's better to actually avoid any of these if you could. Okay, but then if you're not getting like this kind of like teaching or like advice from the mentor or parents, you might have to actually go through this. Yeah, I did quite a lot, but the to get to certain level, to certain success, you got to take life very seriously. But then oftentimes like when you're young or like when you're okay, like your life hasn't been that difficult, we tend to delude ourselves that, oh yeah, actually I'm doing pretty good, I'm good, and then that things kind of adds up, and then you become uh, sort of underestimating the opponents too much. I'm not talking opponent in a one guy or something. It's just the whole entire, like let's say the systems or various factors or like even the complexity that you're dealing with. It seems like too simple. But that's the when you make mistakes, right? Like devastating mistakes. If you try your best, but then you make mistakes, that's why you learn. Wow, I didn't see that coming. Okay, that what I didn't see that coming. And then if you remember that, what do you learn from people who actually went through it? Is that life, the success takes gradual steps. Okay, and then good amount of restraint and then strategy. And then we try to cut corners if we didn't go through it. So as long as you have these, like just what I said, know that you probably don't have to ever went through any of that stupid things. Some people say, "Oh, I made a huge mistake, so I became X, Y, and Z." You don't have to, really. And I try not. I suggest you never experience those, because I'm not sure that experience is actually necessary. To me, it's unnecessary. Yeah, it was inevitable for some people, but then it's absolutely unnecessary. And then during the course of kind of pushing a limitation, like a lot of people might discourage you or criticize you. "Hey, why are you trying this hard? You're pretty good," whatever. Generally speaking, like a lot of other people will be jealous, or like or what you do is so contradictory to the lifestyle that they are living that then they feel threatened, or because your progress in a sense indirectly disapproves of the way they live. But stay focused, keep the distance if necessary, but then don't spend too much time on other people's thing. Focus on what you can do, and then no stone unturned, just making sure that everything's doing good, and then push the limit, because there's a lot of things you can do. And yeah, everybody needs that type of the encouragement. So yeah, hopefully like this, for this video, people encourage each other, because it's a pushing a limit is hard. It is scary things, because you could just go through the life that predictable in a way, system is all set up. You just take advantage of it, but then pushing the limit, pushing something is something that taking a more challenges, more difficult project, whatever, that whole thing just requires boldness or courage. So that it's really necessary. So when you break from self-imposed, right? This is a self-imposed limitation what I'm talking about. Like you gain immense power. Each day really presents a new opportunity for your growth, and you'll discover something that you never thought possible. And really do this intelligent and persistently. You overcome like perceived like limitation. You will surprise yourself. And this is really the way to fulfill your potential. And the more fulfilling, not just fulfilling life, but you maximize the benefit to humanity. Thank you for watching. Please share your ideas in the comment section below to help each other, and hit like and the subscribe buttons so you get notified of the next video. See you next time.